Hello.
Hello. Here we are again.
Yes.
And so we thought we'd do a part two of Override.
Mm-hmm.
In the part one, we focused more on, yeah, what it was like to be a practitioner. And um, we thought in this episode, we'd talk more about what it's like to work with ourselves in awareness through movement, in relation to override, maybe expand into life. And I might put in a little bit about what it's like to teach too. And you're trying to like not bring people to override, um, but still keep the like lesson moving. I think that's in there too.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, but where do you want to start? Does something come to your mind?
No, I I'm down to go wherever.
Okay. Um,
Are we recording?
yeah, we're recording. It's
Okay,
happening.
cool.
There's like I hear something, it almost sounds like paper rustling or like some sound.
There's some wind. We can
Oh,
go inside. I'm outside. Should I go inside?
yeah, maybe go inside, I think.
Okay. On it.
All right. I feel like this is like a low octane start.
Yeah. We can just delete this.
Oh no, but I kind of like the like yeah, I don't know, just like the document of it or the
Anticipation.
yeah, and like people getting to just like experience the whole getting into it, like the whole ride,
Mm-hmm.
not just coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well, I guess okay, because I'm thinking of this, although I don't want to, like we said, maybe not focus so much on being a practitioner, but it's just like where I feel like I'm starting from. So I'm just thinking about teaching and how like really the most I think important thing and like where I don't know where the change happens is when we're moving ourselves in a way that we're not overriding. And we can talk
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more maybe about like what override feels like to each of us or what that is. I think everybody kind of has like different tolerances. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then there's also this thing, at least in the Feldenkrais method, and this is what I feel like maybe makes it different than some other modalities out there. There is like a lesson, right? Like we have um all these lessons that Moshe Feldenkrais created, either things that he wrote in books or transcripts of actual lessons that he taught. And they're, yeah, kind of the framework that we're getting to experience ourselves in. And so sometimes when I'm teaching, I will definitely feel this pull between like, okay, there's the lesson, and then there's like what I'm kind of seeing happening in the room. And I have such a urge to just like slow the lesson down or abandon the lesson so that, or, maybe just take a U-turn or jump into a different lesson or something in order to try to help people not override themselves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I do that. But then there's also this other thing in Feldenkrais where I feel like it's like there is this responsibility of the student to
Mm-hmm.
not get too caught up in trying to keep up with the lesson and and I and just to like feel themselves and I'm going to use the word override again because we're saying it but or because it's the topic but in not override themselves. And I think sometimes for me, like the fact that the lesson is going to keep going regardless of what I'm doing is like a really nice, safe container that I then feel a little bit more free to like follow and do what I want to do.
That's when you're doing a lesson, like when you're on the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
I'm on the floor, I kind of prefer it when the teacher just sticks to the lesson and isn't trying to adapt it to me because then I feel
Hmm.
like I have more space and autonomy.
Yeah, totally. I resonate with, I mean, I agree with that. I feel similarly.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me then that that's like not, as a teacher, that's not what I feel more comfortable with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like not what we're taught either. Like in a training or something, it's like not what we're taught like to do as a teacher either. Like on the one hand, it's like always like whatever the student's doing is like what's right. But then it's also like, I mean, you're taught like if you're teaching like a room full of people who haven't done Feldenkrais before, like, or who have very little experience, it's like you want to be, making sure they're doing it right, quote unquote, which is ridiculous. But you want to make sure they're doing like the lesson and not something else. Um, but I think that's in conflict with the other thing we're talking about, or the other thing we're taught, which is what we're talking about right now, which is that you should never push yourself to do something that doesn't feel right. And that can be subtle sometimes. And I think that's important. But I mean, on a not subtle level, it's like if you can't do a movement or it hurts you to do a movement, like you shouldn't be doing it. Um, but at the same time, we want people doing the less. So sorry, I'm like,
No, it's okay.
what
This is,
is, what's going on here, you know?
yeah, this is, I mean, you talked about how the Feldenkrais method is full of paradox, I think.
Yeah,
And this is one of them. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, especially when you're first teaching, I feel like it's like you just don't want people to hurt themselves if you can avoid it,
yeah,
right? So you're like kind of doing everything you can to help people like not hurt themselves. And
right.
which in itself is like the starting place, I feel like, and it brings up all this stuff about like they come, you mentioned expert before, right? So it's like they come to you, they have this issue. Usually they have an issue that they come to you for because they've tried other things. And usually they've tried like everything else they could think of and it hasn't
Mhm,
worked. And so they come to us and they do come to us with a sense that we're experts and
mhm,
they are used to when the teacher or the physical therapist, right? Or the personal trainer like tells them to do something, they're used to doing it and thinking like the important thing is that I do this movement, and if I do
mhm,
it, I will get the benefit and I will,
mhm.
will heal or fix my issue. And
Right.
we,
It's very hard to get someone who's steeped in that mindset to change perspective.
yes, it really, really is. It is. And
We want, I mean, there's some desire to do the 15 rep the
yes,
15 reps 4 times a day mindlessly,
yes,
and I'm gonna be fixed. That
yes.
would be great.
That would be so awesome. I wish there was just that kind of
I
recipe.
would do it too.
I would totally do it. I would. And
I
there's,
mean,
yeah. And I want to say too that I feel like a lot of like physical therapy and personal training and all of that, I feel like it's changing too. And it's much more,
yeah,
it's giving people, yeah, more awareness, more mindfulness. They say
mindfulness.
push through mindfulness.
The key, the hot word.
It's true. It is a hot word. But I hear them say now, like, don't push through pain, you know? Unless
Right.
it's, I mean, there are, like, one of my clients had shoulder surgery recently, and the physical therapist definitely was like putting him, pain was going to be part of the process.
Yeah. Well, and I
And
think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I mean, he is recovering quite well. There's still more to do, but I think their sense was like if they didn't break up some of that scar tissue, like the shoulder was gonna just get stuck, you know?
Right.
So I don't want to say that there's not a place for that, but I do want to say it's probably not required as much as we think it is, and that it usually does I mean, they're actually trying to break down the tissue, right? Which is not maybe what we're trying to do, but I feel like I'm getting too technical. Okay.
No, no, it's fine. I mean, I think it's important stuff actually. And it's yeah. Um I don't know. I mean, it's I guess it's just and maybe we haven't made this explicit yet in what we've talked about, but it's just like the difference of, most of us are going to the doctor and being like, how am I doing?
Mm,
And that's completely the opposite of what we were trying to get people to do, which is
mm,
be able to say, this is how I'm doing.
mm. Or to be able to say, I don't know how I'm doing. Like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
can you help me feel that? Can you help me find that for myself?
Mm-hmm. This is what I know. This is what I don't know.
Yeah, this is what I feel,
We're
what I
I
can't.
mean, even you were saying with the physical therapy, like they're getting more gentle or something, or they're saying don't push through the pain. But I'm like, how we're just trying to get people to even be able to differentiate what pain is. I
That's
think
so true, Alex. That's really, really true. Yeah, yeah.
because I could go do some physical therapy right now, and maybe I wouldn't be like in screaming, agonizing pain, like the on a number of 1 to 10. The doctors love to do that. Sorry, like um, making my doctor voice was kind of derpy, but yeah, I mean, it's like we're not going to be like in 9, 10 agonizing pain, but it's like, yeah, like, am I breathing while I'm doing these exercises?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm,
is there any slight discomfort? Does it feel good? Does it feel
mhm,
okay? Like, we're on
mhm.
that kind of project.
Totally. Am I like disassociating from my body as I do
Yeah, while I'm
these?
doing this, because there's like weird techno music playing at the clinic. Like, no, I don't.
Or just like having to, I feel like sometimes just having to like focus in on one part, And
Uh-huh.
like that can be
Like the
weird.
tunnel vision.
Yes, like the tunnel vision. Although I started working with this Pilates lady who I really like. And
Mhm.
it's like she's going after something so specific, which I can feel like, yes, like this is something that's really missing from, I guess in Feldenkrais language, we would say like my self-image. You
Mhm.
would just say like these are like uh muscles that I haven't activated in a really, really long time, right? Or
Mhm.
pathways that have not been traveled in a long time. And so there's something about the
Mhm.
toxicity that even though it doesn't feel connected or integrated at first, like I feel kind of discombobulated, I'm still getting like really specific. I don't know, it's just like really specific and it feels like these are like puzzle pieces that are missing. And I then find like later on throughout the day or like when I'm falling asleep or waking up in the morning, like then I find myself doing something that feels more like Feldenkrais, where I can actually integrate in like these very specific things that I felt that she showed me. So I guess I don't know, I guess I feel like there's a place for it, but the thing that I feel like I get from Feldenkrais that I don't get from the other things is just that sense of integration and of like how to make it
Mhm.
feel like it's actually like part of me and it's something that I can use in the background, like when I'm, doing stuff. It's not something that I have to super focus on and, all of a sudden just become a foot or an ankle, right?
Right, exactly.
But I
Yeah.
feel like I just steered it a little bit away from the topic. That's
No, we were on that route. We were taking a little like day trip.
Mm.
But I think it's
Excellent.
fine.
Good.
We could, in some way, having to be the ankle or the foot and do the like tunnel vision thing is an overriding of the rest of yourself.
It is. Honestly, I think it is.
Um,
But then that feels like a valuable override, maybe? Or like
I
a
don't know. It can be. That's the thing is we don't know. Like we don't know what's
balance.
gonna make the difference and what's gonna. I was talking to a friend and he was saying that like um whenever he does stretches or exercises, like he has all this like neck pain and he's just like has this like really focused idea that like I'm doing these stretches for the sake of relieving my neck pain, and it's like all he can think about is his
Mm,
neck and all this stuff, and he's like, and
mm,
I'm realizing I'm not moving the rest of my body or doing things or doing things to stretch or move or wake up other parts of myself, and like maybe in order for the neck to release, the rest of the body needs to
mm,
be. We don't know. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, I can do my little like ankle strengtheners, like I was saying, like the 15 reps 3 times a day mindlessly, and like maybe that's gonna do it. Like who knows? Maybe my ankle just needs some like repetitive movements that aren't
mm,
thought about. Like,
mm,
and we don't know. Like it could, but it might be that support needs to be felt from another place before
mm,
that wants to be relieved or released. I don't know.
mm, mm.
But
Is doing, I guess my question is like, is it the mindlessness? Is that part of the issue? Like you could
for
do
me it is.
reps, but with real focused attention, you know?
Yeah. For me that's an issue. Is
Hmm.
that, and I know we were saying they're teaching more mindfulness, and mindfulness is so hot right now. It's so trendy and like, but what does it mean? I don't know. Um
Mm,
to be, yeah, I don't, some of these words like healing.
mhm, mhm,
I'm gonna take another day trip. Some of these words, just like I hear them so much now, I don't know what they mean.
mhm.
And um, wellness, like all this stuff. It's like, what are you taught? What does it mean? But yeah, for me, when we talk about that model, I'm kind of like, but are you teaching people how to become aware of themselves and how to become aware of the sensations in themselves and how to, like I
Yeah,
was saying, differentiate on that pleasure pain scale so
yes.
that I know, because I'm not going to know when I'm doing my 15 reps or whatever 3 times a day. Like, I'm not going to know if it's
Hmm.
helping me or not if I don't have some sort of spectrum on which to gauge how it feels while
Mm,
I'm doing it.
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Even if it's, and Feldenkrais does this brilliantly, I guess, is that like, after an ATM, after an FI, get up, walk around.
Yeah,
Walking.
yeah.
We walk all the time. We all know what walking is like, and we can feel a difference in walking. Oh, I get up from my ATM and it's like, oh my God, I feel 20 pounds lighter. I don't feel like I'm
Mm,
dragging my leg. I feel like my head's on top of my spine. Like
mm,
all anything like that. Like it's like we are so familiar with the walking that is great. I have something similar. I was told recently by my doctor to do some it's called calisthenics, like cardio basically. um like I have a set of exercises that I have to do for like 5 minutes 3 times a day, and they like get your heart rate up, um and I notice I'm getting my breathing going really, like,
mm,
because my heart rate's going up, I guess, presumably. And
mm.
what's interesting is I was doing it and I was noticing while I was doing the exercise, I was noticing, oh, I feel this way. Like I was feeling like my I can feel a little dizzy. I can feel like I'm getting warmer. I can feel like um I'm working harder. I can get tired, stuff like that. So those are all things I'm noticing. But it's interesting because I like to dance, and I started dancing just in the last like 2 weeks. I started dancing right after I do these exercises, and
Mm,
there's a huge difference.
mm,
And
mm,
I was like, that's interesting because I was thinking about like the walking after ATM, and I was like, it
mm,
actually isn't until we call it the reference movement or whatever. Like it's not until I added this like reference activity of dancing that I
mhm,
really noticed, whoa, this is what these exercises are doing
mm,
for me.
mhm, mhm,
Um, so I don't know if I just digressed a little bit, but
mhm.
um, I guess we're talking about
No, oh
how
yeah.
to detect difference in sensation.
Yeah, and relating that to override because
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're in a Feldenkrais lesson, right? Dizziness, um, increased heat, maybe, yeah,
No.
breathing hard. Like these are all things that we would be like, no,
Yeah.
right? Like, don't do it.
No.
Um,
It's a horrible thing.
yeah, like and I think there's part of me that really was like, okay. And then like really was like waiting for not waiting, but really trying to like cultivate this like ideal organization and ideal state where
Hmm.
like I could do the like the faster, rapid, more things, but it would be effortless, you know? Um,
Hmm.
but I feel like then you start like, or I started avoiding effort and that I
I do that too.
feel like there's sometimes it feels really good. Like you're mentioning dancing, right? Like I find if I put on music, then like it
Hmm.
definitely feels like I can do these. It's like the music, I don't know, it kind of takes over or organizes me or something. And so I can do all these things that would feel like effort that don't feel like effort. Or running around
Hmm.
and playing with like my cousin's daughter. Like it felt so good to get my heart rate up and to sweat and and I was having fun. And so it didn't feel like work. It just felt fun. Um I don't know, I'm thinking about that. But then I'm also thinking how your yeah, 4 times a day exercises it's like you get to recalibrate your system a little bit, right? Because they do feel not so good maybe while you're doing them, but then you're saying afterwards you feel like the benefit of them.
Hmm.
Is that, or maybe not even not so good is not the right word, but it's at least um contradicting maybe some of what we've learned to practice in the Feldenkrais method.
Hmm.
And so then we could say that you're kind of learning how to override, how to play with override a little bit, which
Hmm.
I think can build tolerance. That's like another word that's kind of hot right now.
Tolerance.
Yeah, tolerance, like tolerance for these things that maybe don't feel so good, but actually the stress, like basically like the ways that our bodies can positively respond to like small bouts of stress that are just like a little bit above our normal threshold.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Tolerance.
Tolerance, yeah. But I
And
want to
that's
say
something you
that
might want to do with like cardio training.
yes, exactly. But I would still say it's not something you want to do during a Feldenkrais lesson. Do you know what I mean?
No,
I don't want to hold Feldenkrais. I wanted to have that space where it's like really not about override at all.
it's almost the opposite. It's
Yes,
almost like underride. It's like you want to
yes,
get to the
underride.
place. Underride. That's what this episode is about.
It's
Um,
undergrad. Yeah, like before you even reach your limit, you back
yep,
off.
yep, exactly. It's like you don't even want to be at the place where it's like okay.
Yeah.
It wants you want to be like it's better than that. It's chiller than that. It's easier than that.
Yes. Oh my God. And that place is so expansive and so much opening
Mm-hmm.
up in that space. And
Yep.
like that's really, yeah, I feel like all of those things that people feel about like, oh, I'm tight here or there or that, it's like when you get to that space, all that just starts melting away.
Melting, melting.
Yeah.
So the trick is getting there
Yeah.
because that's not easy. I
No,
mean, it
I
can be, but maybe, but
I feel
there's a lot that feels like it's in the way. Whether that's a belief, an ideology, whether that's a chattering mind, an emotion,
yeah.
uh, I don't know.
I feel like it's an expectation maybe. Um,
Hmm.
because I feel like it's like closer to sleep than
Yeah,
exercise class.
it is. Yeah,
So,
and that is like why a lot of the changes happen in sleep
mm,
and ATM or FI.
mm.
Or I shouldn't say that is why. That makes it seem like I know something, but it's like I presume that's why, I guess. Um,
For me, it happens like not
feels like
quite.
a liminal. Oh, sorry.
Yes, liminal. Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't quite happen for me in sleep, but I do experience it when I'm
Right
something.
before it.
Yeah, or like if I'm sleeping and then I surface a little bit, I'll
Yep.
find
Yeah.
my, especially if I've been doing like a workshop or was in training, I'll find myself moving just the teensiest
Yeah.
bit. And that's, yeah, that's when it feels like there's, I mean, I know there are like the four stages. I was just gonna use your voice, the four stages of sleep.
Yes. I think we can do that. I think it's okay.
Good. I think it I think it
I think
maps,
it works.
it does map onto one of those stages. Uh,
Yeah, it's like for me, it's like a place where I feel like I'm dipping.
yeah.
Like I'm dipping in and out of sleep and waking life. And I'm like not quite awake and not quite asleep. It's a
Yeah.
great place, especially if you can stay there. I usually just like fall asleep, but
It
if you
happens.
can stay in that spot, it's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I think that's why we say to people it's okay if you fall asleep, right? Because it's like it just it, yeah, because on the way to sleep they're getting to that place.
Totally, totally.
But I feel like people don't
Um,
trust relaxation. Like, because
no,
number one thing
especially
people are like, oh, I feel
well,
so relaxed. But then they're like, and now what? Or and then what? You know?
yeah, well, I think it's like it's there's an extra thing here too, where it's like
Hmm.
I think people are okay with relaxation if they're like, I'm going to the spa or like whatever kind of like, I'm intentionally going to do this relaxation. But I think part of the problem is we are like a physical therapy adjacent modality. And so it's like someone has this idea that I have to put in the effort in order to, and I'm making changes in terms of like moving in my body, or I'm making changes in terms of like structural alignment in my body or like whatever. And then it's like, wait, why would that happen during relaxation? Like when I'm relaxing, I'm like slumped over on the couch. Like it's the opposite of like, what I think of like some chiropractor gonna come and like
Hmm.
violently use the staple gun on my back or whatever, or like, or or like, or I'm gonna have to do these like exercises or like go to the gym and like work really hard, and like that's how the changes are gonna come about. And like maybe, and part of that is I think cultural, part of it's also like wanting to be in control of how we've healed or
Yeah.
changed ourselves. But it's like, I mean, we can talk about the psychology of it. That's obviously my proclivity, but I think it's like, wait, relaxation? What? I mean, I know when I started, I was like, wait, what? I'm gonna be like half asleep and my spine is gonna change? Like, what?
Mm.
But it's like it's so much more effective that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
like you were saying, when you get to that liminal space,
mm.
uh, that so many possibilities open up.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like because there is no resistance, and we have some idea that you need resistance or you need work or effort, but it's actually like in a place of very little to no effort,
Yeah.
the possibilities are immense.
Yes. Yeah. And I know as you're kind of, so I feel like we're describing this state that,
Yeah.
like when you said just slumped over on the couch, I was like, that's real. Like that's really real. Like people, so
Yeah.
some people experience it as either sleep or just being slumped over on the couch. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think what you start to experience is that there's actually a lot of range in there. And
Mm-hmm.
there's yeah, there's just more, yeah, you get we use the word discernment, but you just find more and more discernment within it. And I think like the slumped over thing, it's like you start to find where you can be kind of relaxed but still feel support, right? We talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and I think part of what happens is that muscular effort, you learn to reduce it, and then you start to
Mm-hmm.
feel like the support of your bones. And so then, and also I want to say there's nothing wrong with being slumped over on the couch sometimes, you know, like that's okay
Oh
too.
no, it's sometimes it's absolutely crucial to be slumped.
Yes, yes, yeah.
There's a function for
Well,
slumping.
for slumping, there's a function for overriding. Like,
There's a function for overriding.
yeah, there is. There
I
is.
found myself wanting to be like anything outside of that like dipping in and out of sleep place is overriding. And then
Yeah.
I was there's like a truth to that to me. Like in my ideal like honeypot ATM world,
Yes.
FI world,
Yes.
that's like in my like I want everything to be perfect and I want to have like a definition that fits neatly into a box.
Yes.
Um that would be what I would land on.
Me
That
too.
would be what I would say. Anything outside of that space is overriding.
Me too.
But
Unless
I
there's a
mean,
real threat, right?
unless there's a real threat. Yeah, exactly. Unless
Real
there's a
threat.
real threat, then the
Yeah.
tonus has to increase in response to it.
Yes.
And you need to act or do something.
Yes.
But then when we expand out of, and that's what Feldenkrais did, is he created this method to be the like a container so you could
Mm.
be there. Because I
Mm.
think as we zoom out and expand away from being in that place and doing an ATM and getting an FI and in this perfect Feldenkrais scenario, and we're in day-to-day living, it is really nuanced and complicated, I think. And I don't think I could land on a definition even close to what I just said.
Of what override feels like in the daily life
In
compared,
the daily life.
yeah, compared to how clear it is what override feels like in Feldenkrais.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think we build that discernment so that we can feel in daily life more and more, oh, I'm really tired right now and I'm like on a hike. Why am I on this hike right now? Like I
Mm.
actually would be better. This is an override. It would be better for me to be resting at home, or would be better for me to be doing like a gentler even a gentler form of exercise or something, or like, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
like we can discern, or oh my God, like, yeah, I'm exhausted, I need to sleep, and I'm out running errands or driving or something like that. It's like,
Mhm.
I think we build the our discernment, awareness skills, and we're able to see it more and more in daily life. But I think it's so much more complicated. And there's so many more. I mean, like I said, Feldenkrais, when you're doing an ATM, when you're getting an FI, it's eliminated so many external pressures.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly. That's, I think that's it. Because in that, yeah, in the container of an FI or an ATM, I mean, we really are saying like that the most important thing is not to override. And so
mhm.
everything else that we say is like secondary. Whereas when you're out in life, it feels like the inverse is true, right?
Yes.
Like it's like, no, like I really gotta do this. I really gotta like get to work. I really gotta go grocery shopping. I really gotta um so it's yeah, but I don't know, as you were talking though, I also had this image of just like how like in driving, I feel like we go through a whole range of like states in our nervous system. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but like when
I
I
don't
can
even like thinking about it.
sorry, even just imagining it. So it is a place that except for my like right hip joint, I would say the rest of me can feel pretty relaxed like
Okay.
at times. Um
Yeah, the right hip joint's got a lot going on.
right hip joint has so much going on, especially when it's driving. It's like
Yeah, with the all the pedals.
yeah, the pedals. And I used to drive a stick shift, which in some
Ugh.
ways was almost better actually, because
Yeah.
you could like press and I don't know, gave you, I don't know, anyways. Um, I won't go into it so much right now, but I was, or I don't know, resistance or something. And I feel like too, like as cars get lighter, it's so much better for the environment, but then they are, you get more kind of like mm, not quite whiplash, but they're just like there's more
Mhm.
a heavy car is much more steady, right? Like it slows down gradually, it accelerates gradually. The lighter
Mhm.
and and it kind of does that for you. The lighter cars, I feel like you have to stabilize yourself so much more and you have to work so much more because the weight of the car like isn't taking over and providing some of that resistance. Because that kind of resistance
Yeah,
I feel like is good.
totally.
There is, okay, there's a minute and 30 seconds left, but
Okay.
I think all I was trying to say though is that once you've experienced this like more relaxed, more liminal space state, am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think so.
That then, I mean, it is a place in your nervous system or it is a state. It is somewhere that you can I don't know. I feel like it does start to become a little bit more available, or even a lot more available in daily life. Once you start practicing experiencing it in the safe container that is the Feldenkrais method.
Yeah.
Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
Does that feel far off to you?
That feels true to me.
Mhm.
That feels true to me.
Well, thank you so much, Alex. It's like,
Thank you. This
yeah,
was good. I appreciate this discussion.
me too.
um, yeah.
And thank you, anyone who's listening. We appreciate your ears.
Yeah. And
We
the rest of you.